So in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 trauma-informed strategies for hacking your trauma brain into achieving your big-ass goals, even if your trauma has been holding you back for years. So these hacks are incredibly simple, and they literally take minutes and will completely change your life. I know that's a pretty big promise, but this shit works. So I'm going to share with you how one of my clients escaped a narcissistic ex-husband and got out of $250,000 in debt, and how another client, Aurora, achieved her goals, healed her trauma, and started her dream business in less than 3 months after failing to heal for over 6 years. So these are all neuroscience-based strategies for turning off the survival brain and engaging the other parts of your brain that have been dormant due to trauma. So if you are a survivor, finally ready to break free from your trauma and build a business that works with your nervous system, I want you to succeed. I want to help you get there. So each month I offer a few free business coaching sessions to survivors that are just getting started. There's no pitch, no product to sell. It's just open office hours where you can ask me anything about starting a business as a survivor. If you need guidance, clarity, or a push in the right direction, I will leave a link in the description for you to sign up for that. Okay, so here are the 3 trauma-informed strategies for setting and achieving your goals that will actually help you heal from trauma. Number 1, we need to talk about the difference between pain-based goals and outcome-based goals. So your brain, with trauma or not, is following 3 rules. Rule number 1 is no dying. Your brain is always going to prioritize safety over anything else. Rule number 2 is no crying. Once you are safe, then your brain will worry about how you feel emotionally. And rule number 3 is no dying again, because if you aren't growing, you're dying. Now, because your brain's first job is to keep you safe, if it feels like anything you're thinking, feeling, or experiencing is a threat, it will immediately put up the defenses and prevent you from moving towards the thing that you want. This is where so many survivors struggle. We know we want to get out of pain and experience pleasure, but if we keep reminding our brains about the pain, our survival brain kicks in and freezes us from taking action towards pleasure. Our brains are wired to choose a pain that we know over a pleasure that is unknown to us. This seems like a weird evolutionary disadvantage. However, it's really all about efficiency. You see, your brain will always choose the path of least resistance, aka something it already knows how to survive, rather than trying to learn new things when you're in real or perceived danger. Now, this is annoying when we want to chase big, audacious goals. However, we can hack this and use this to our advantage by setting outcome-based goals versus pain-based goals. When we set outcome-based goals, we are activating the pleasure center of the brain instead of the pain or survival parts of the brain. An example of this is to get out of debt. This is a really common goal a lot of my clients come to me with, and it's very common for women who have experienced trauma to also struggle with financial hardship. Money and trauma are so intertwined. I'm actually making an entire video on money and trauma and how trauma affects our ability to earn money. So subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications because that's coming out soon and you won't want to miss it. It's like huge. So I want to share an example. One of my clients, we're going to call her Claudia to protect her identity. So despite coming from a wealthy upper middle class family, her abusive marriage ruined her financially, and the stress of her toxic relationship spilled over into her business. Now, when she came to me, her business was in $250,000 in debt. The stress was weighing on her. She was constantly thinking about how much money she owed and all of the bad things that would happen if she couldn't pay all of that back. She was scared to spend money on office supplies for her business. She was afraid to buy groceries despite having enough income to afford them. She was isolating herself and she stopped taking care of herself because of the guilt and the shame that she was carrying surrounding her debt. Now, her survival brain was so focused on the negative outcomes that it started to associate any money she needed to spend to keep herself healthy or to keep her business running with the pain of the debt. Now, the problem is that she needed to be healthy in order to run her business, and her business needed supplies in order to fulfill orders and continue to generate income. So, one of the very first things we did together was to change her goals. She believed that getting out of debt would alleviate the pain she was experiencing. But the problem is, this is a get out of pain goal. Her focus was on pain, and her survival brain was responding to pain by freezing and fleeing. So we changed her goals. Her new goal was to generate $1 million in revenue in her business within 12 months. She wrote down this goal daily, and we talked about this goal often. Then we strategized a plan that would help her achieve this goal by breaking it down into different actionable steps, objectives, and milestones. This included how many new customers she would need, how many units she would need to sell, how much she would need to spend on supplies and marketing, and even how much she would pay herself. We shifted her perspective to looking forward to an outcome. Now, this works because it doesn't activate your survival brain, it activates your thinking brain and allows us to come up with more creative solutions and see opportunities and make longer term decisions that your survival brain just isn't capable of seeing. And guess what? It actually worked. Claudia not only reached her goal, but she exceeded it, clearing $1.2 million in revenue in less than a year. But here's the thing. She didn't just make more money, she took better care of herself. She healed her trust issues and she created better relationships. She rebuilt her confidence, and all of this allowed her to expand her business. And I'm really freaking proud of her. She's now expanding to an international market. She's working on an entirely new product line, and she is set to more than double her revenue this year. So I want you to understand, our subconscious minds like the idea of more money. Money is often linked to a sense of security, whereas debt is linked to fear and scarcity. So do you see the difference? Okay, so when you're writing down your goals, which you should be doing daily, be sure to write them as positive outcome-based goals. Now, you can do this by starting small. Instead of setting goals to get out of debt, try setting a goal to put $10,000 in savings by the end of the year, which may include paying off your debt in the process. Or if you're trying to lose 10 pounds, another pain-based goal, shift to an outcome-based goal of completing a 10K race in 6 months. It is a simple shift, but it will make a massive impact on your success. Okay, the next strategy builds on the last one. I call it the GPS method. The GPS stands for goal, plan, and simple step. We use this strategy in my Survivor to CEO program, where Aurora used it to break free from her trauma and start to chase her dream career as a tattoo artist after 6 years, 3 psychiatrists, 5 therapists, and 2 different group programs failed to help her get back on her feet. When I first met her, she felt stuck, but she wasn't ready to give up. Aurora joined the program in January of last year, and by March, everything had changed. She stuck to the program, she did the work to regulate her nervous system, and she stayed focused on her goals, the plan, and she took the simple steps. And here's what she had to say about living her new life that she had built for herself.
I would say, let's say I was talking to, a 3 month ago version of myself. No, that was a pretty dark place even then. I was kind of spinning my wheels, and things can kind of shift really quickly. I wouldn't have believed where I was going to be right now. Also, when you're approaching it the right way, it doesn't feel like work, and it is possible. And I want to speak from experience here because, I spent so much time looking for answers and talking to people and repeating my story. And now I'm at this point where I feel like, all right, what's next? When I wake up in the morning, I feel like I have something to wake up to, and I have a goal in mind. And like, you almost get to a place where the big dream and the big goal, and suddenly it's like it doesn't feel so big anymore. So for me, it was like that was the eye on the prize. And I think that made it really easy for me to just metabolize what it was that you were saying, because I did have a very clear idea of what that looks like, and that was the $1 million question. Now that I've gone and healed my brain to this point where I can walk into a shop and I can stand, shoulder to shoulder with some of the most talented artists I've ever worked with, and and feel like I'm actually holding my own in that room. That for me was the breakthrough that I needed, that I didn't think was possible. That I think is the most surprising result, because it just happened one day. It just happens. And I was like, wait a minute.
These strategies seem so simple, and when you're struggling with the effects of trauma for so long, it can feel like the pain is so big that the solution has to be something big and complicated. But I work very hard to make sure that I'm taking a trauma-informed approach to all of my programs, which means that the steps need to be simple and actionable, even when you're feeling overwhelmed. And that is the beauty of this strategy. It is so simple and can have such a massive impact. So the first step in the GPS process is to prime your brain by writing down your outcome-based goals. And when you do this daily, it automatically makes it twice as likely that you will achieve your goal. Now, the second step, and this will actually 10x your success, is writing down a simple sentence that describes the plan for attaining this goal. For example, if your goal is to start your own business and make enough money to replace your current job in 6 months, your plan might sound like, my plan is to spend 1 hour a day after work working on each of the 5 business buckets. This is it. This is a 30,000-foot view of the plan, not a 37-step color-coded plan with sticky notes and highlighters. Trust me, it doesn't work. Besides, your subconscious mind doesn't need that much information. I know that sometimes with trauma, strategizing and planning every step makes us feel better, but this actually confuses your subconscious mind. It wastes valuable resources, and it ends up engaging your survival brain with catastrophizing thoughts. Aligning with a clear outcome and a direction to head in gives us the freedom to adjust along the way, and it allows us to see opportunities and paths that we wouldn't have seen if we had a rigid plan. Now, the other benefit to having a more casual versus rigid approach is that introducing new things along the way is less likely to trigger the survival brain's freeze response. Now, one of the most common reasons that we don't achieve our goals is fear. So we want to avoid poking the bear. Okay, so once you have your outcome-based goal and your 30,000-foot view of your plan, the last part in the GPS is the S, and this stands for simple step. So you can't just write down your goals and hope that the universe will magically deliver to you. You do have to take action. And besides, this is where the healing happens. So this is the part where you write down one simple step you can take today to get you closer to your goals. That simple step just needs to align with your 30,000-foot view plan. So don't worry if this sounds like a lot. I have a template for this. I will leave a link in the description to make this easier. Okay, last but definitely not least is strategy number 3. And this is where we practice attitude, gratitude, latitude. Okay, your attitude is about mindset. Keeping a positive mindset in the shadow of trauma can seem nearly impossible. I understand. Trauma installs this voice inside of our head that has us believing these 3 common lies. 1, I'm not good enough. 2, I don't belong here. And 3, the world is one big dumpster fire, so why bother to even try? So the secret to keeping your mindset on track, even on those craptastic days, actually lies in your nervous system, not in your mind. So more specifically, regulating your nervous system through movement, diet, sleep, and social connection is one of the most important factors in healing trauma and is the key to keeping the right attitude when trying to achieve your goals. When your nervous system relaxes, it gives us the capacity to think and feel things more clearly. Okay, I know this next one can be hard for survivors. It can feel like life handed us the shit end of a stick, and finding things to be grateful for can be really hard when we don't feel safe. But gratitude has a ton of benefits for your brain, your mood, and your likelihood of achieving your outcome. In fact, people who practice gratitude are more likely to engage in pro-social behaviors, which strengthens personal and professional relationships, which, according to the longest study conducted by Harvard University, is the #1 factor in predicting success. But if you still can't find anything to be grateful for, don't. Instead, think about something you give a profound shit about. Having a sense of purpose will give you the motivation to keep moving forward. Okay, lastly, latitude. Now, this one is about giving yourself space on the days when you just can't want to. This is not about shaming ourselves to live up to someone else's standards. This is about allowing ourselves to fail without shame, to rest without guilt, and to change our minds along the way. Okay, so here is a little bonus hack. So I set a rule for myself when I'm chasing a new big goal. And that rule is that I never miss more than 2 days in a row. If you miss one day, that's a mistake. 2 days is a choice. And the third day is building a new habit. Okay, so just to recap. Number 1, set outcome-based goals that feel good and are clear. Number 2, follow your GPS. Write down your goals daily or at least weekly with a simple plan, and then write down at least one step you can complete today to help you move closer to your goal. This will help build a sense of security by keeping promises to yourself. And number 3, create a daily habit to practice attitude, gratitude, and latitude. I know it sounds super cheesy, but the biggest battles you will fight in building your business and healing your trauma are going to be between you and your survival brain. So let's get them working together. Okay, each month, I offer a few free business coaching sessions to survivors just getting started. There's no pitch, there's no product to sell, just open office hours where you can ask me anything about starting a business as a survivor. Whether you need guidance, clarity, or just a push in the right direction, I will leave a link in the description for you to sign up for that and take a look for some other resources to help you plan out your GPS.